On this edition of UND Sports Extra, the women's basketball squad takes on a pair of Big Sky teams at home, still looking for its first league win of the year. Head coach Travis Brewster and I will navigate the highlights. UND men's head basketball coach Brian Jones drops by as his group looks to continue its strong start in Big Sky play with their first road trip of the conference season this past week. And we'll catch you up on how the Lamoureux sisters are staying busy these days, including a unique return to Ralph Engelstad Arena this past weekend. Our leadoff guest tonight is UND head women's basketball coach Travis Brewster. Coach, good to be back with you again.
Thank you.
And coming off of 2 games that you got to play at home this past week, and you were still looking for that first Big Sky win, which you did get. We'll get to that. What were your emphasis points going into last week's action, though?
Well, the biggest thing is we have to start playing our brand of basketball again, really being competitive on both ends of the floor. I thought we lost a little bit of our defensive intensity throughout the year, and we kind of picked that back up. Obviously, the biggest thing for us we've been talking about is taking care of the basketball and eliminating turnovers. You're looking at a team we just played, Weber State, who turned us over 27 times. The team before that, Idaho State, 31 times. So obviously that was a big thing that we talked about. We also talked about being basically just being mature with the basketball and have some confidence when it's in your hands.
Let's take a look at Thursday's highlights. A game against Weber State you saw right here on Midco Sports Network, and turnovers were a theme in this one. We'll get to that, but some strong games from Michaela Dyer and Samantha Roscoe in this one. Late in the first quarter, Michaela Dyer drains the 3 from the top of the key. Your team trailed 1 after the first. A nice game from Samantha Roscoe inside for you, Coach.
Well, I thought Sam did a heck of a job of just enforcing her presence out there. She's 6'4", very mobile, can put it on the floor, she can shoot it. She's a very heady basketball player, so it was nice to see her kind of start playing the type of basketball that we know she can play. Now she's got to continue to do that, but she had a good game for us. She got great hands there, great pass from Kelsey Knox, and showing that emotion.
A career-high 22 points for Roscoe, including 10 of 12 from the floor and 6 rebounds. Your team trailed 5 at the half. Then in the fourth quarter, you trailed by as many as 13. But Dyer with a deep 3 in the corner here, and then a big sequence coming up. Knox to Roscoe, and then off the steal, it's Knox to Roscoe again.
Well, Kelsey had a heck of a game as a floor general that game. She really did a good job in imposing her defensive will on the floor. And, again, Sam made some good reads. They connected and they were ready to play. So we got to keep on playing like that.
Your team down 3 with 2.5 to play. Dyer with the big 3-pointer here to tie the game at 53, but with a minute to go, it was turnover trouble all day, as we've already touched on. Here, Regina Okoye with the steal, DeShira Thomas with the jumper, and then on the ensuing inbound, Okoye with the finisher, essentially.
Yeah, and we talked about take care of the basketball. Michaela did a heck of a job getting herself ready for play this game. She came in, did extra shooting with herself and the coaches, and you see the reaps of that reward. But we have to take care of the basketball, plain and simple.
Weber State pulls it out 62-56, 27 turnovers on the day. Weber State 19 steals. They came in second in the Big Sky in steals per game, trailing only Sacramento State, who of course leads the nation. And Coach, that led to some obvious, I think, points that you wanted to get cleaned up as you would make the transition to Idaho State.
Well, we had to address it. There's no getting away around it. It's part of what we have to overcome. It's kind of our Achilles heel, so to speak. And that comes down to doing basketball with fundamentals. Being able to, just hold the ball in triple threat, meet your pass when you pass it, identify the defense as it's out there. And I thought we did a little bit better job of that, against Idaho State. It's one of those things, as long as we continually to get better, we're going to be all right.
And as we transition to Saturday afternoon inside the Betty, you play host to the Bengals in a game that was challenging for both teams shooting. Idaho State up 17-15 at the half, but in the third, you start off the second half with a 7-0 run.
Well, I thought, Fallon hit a great shot right there. And then we just started executing and attacking the hoop. That's part of the game. You got to be confident with that ball. And Steph Smith gets a good pass from Dyer and gets a finish. Again, Steph's getting beat up down there, and she's being strong with the basketball. Then you got Roscoe coming to clean up the backside. Your
team builds a 5-point lead. Then later in the third, Roscoe with a nice tip pass outside to Maya Lloyd there for the 3.
Yeah, and then Maya's capable of making those shots, especially when she gets time to set her feet and gets a nice high release. But, that's a great read by Sam. There's Dyer there again with the again, she's continuing what she's worked on, and that's the key to be able to have success. You have to work at it when other people aren't.
Dyer here again off the inbounds, knocks down the 3. Your team builds an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. Then Leah Zabla connects with Roscoe coming up here for the jumper as your team led by 5. But Idaho State would not go away in this one. In the closing minute, Isabel Vara de Rey is going to knock down a 3 to pull the Bengals within 1. But that would lead to a Great defensive play to finish it off as Zabla is going to get the poke steal here that seals the victory in the closing seconds.
You know, that's something that she does a lot, and it's a risky play, but at the same time, she had the nerve to be able to pull that off at the right time. You know, and that's attributed to her playing solid defense earlier to allow her to be able to pull that off.
UND goes on to get the W, 45-42, the final in this one. Dyer led the way with 15 points. Stephanie Smith, a big day, 9 points and 11 rebounds. Samantha Roscoe cooled off a little bit with 8 points and 6 boards on the day, coming off of her career-high 22. Dyer had the career-high 20, of course, on Thursday. And, Coach, following this one, you get your first Big Sky win. That's a nice step to getting back into the race.
Well, it's our first Big Sky win since February, I believe, 29th, what it was. And, you know, the other part about it is you got to get back on the right track, you know, and be able to have a little bit of confidence. They were pretty excited about it. You could hear it in the locker room. And it's a tough thing for young people to go through what we've been going through. But now they're starting to understand you have to play at a high level at all times and compete. As long as you keep competing, there's going to be an opportunity, you know, and they should enjoy it. And now we're back to getting ready to go this week.
Maya Lloyd and Leah Zabla have been quiet even since coming back from their one-game suspension. Is that handicapping your team at all right now? Are you needing those two players to step up?
Well, you know, I wouldn't say it's handicapping. I think the biggest thing is that our other players are trying to grow, and at the same time they have to grow, I guess, back into their role a little bit, is the best way I can put it. And you're starting to see signs of it, and it'll come with time, obviously. It's one of those things when you look at basketball players and confidence and what they're doing, you know, you got to grow with the team, and that's something that they're really working hard on. They've been practicing well, the two of them, you know, so at the same time, you know it's going to be there, and you want it to be there at the right time of the year.
All right, your team is back on the road this week at Montana State and at Montana. We'll recap those two games next week here on the show. Coach, thanks for your time. Coming up next on the program, UND men's head basketball coach Brian Jones drops by as his team looks to continue its strong start in Big Sky play. That's next on UND Sports Extra.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. We're joined by UND head men's basketball coach Brian Jones. And Brian, good to be back talking hoops with you once again, coming off of a pretty successful weekend. Before we get to that, though, coming off of the Eastern Washington game, knocking off the defending Big Sky champs, you go on the road at Weber State. You mentioned last week how difficult of a place that is to play, but your team had to be going there with some confidence after last weekend, did it not?
No question. Obviously, it was a tough-fought win for us on Saturday, but going into Weber, as I told our guys, you don't know what you're in for until you actually go through it. We try to prep them all week, but the energy was high. Even after the game, I thought we played well the last 32 minutes of the game. They're young kids. They were resilient on the next day of preparation, and it really paid dividends for us because they were really loose going into Saturday night's game.
Well, your team did battle Thursday night, starting in Ogden, Utah against Weber State, hanging tough early on. Starting off, Connor Avance hitting the three here on the wing. Your team within three at that point. Drick Bernstein going to step up and hit a long two after that as your team stays within a half dozen, and then we'll see Cortez Seals off the screen hitting the jumper. Talk about your start, Coach.
Well, slow start early, but then once that Connor's jump shot, then we started getting in a little bit of a rhythm offensively. And as you're seeing, what we talked about, we had to have quality possessions, longer possessions. If you quick shoot against them, they're that fast, and they just really hurt you.
You're hitting the mid-range jumpers there. Quentin Hooker, the unequivocal leader of your team, driving by everyone for the lay-in here. He had another rock-solid game for you, Coach.
He did. He just continues to get better. I think, as you're seeing, he's doing a lot of scoring from a lot of different ways. You saw at the rim there, a little pull-up. He's done that consistently all year, which continues to open up areas for other players.
And opening up this opportunity for Drick Bernstein on the dish there from Hooker with the dunk. Your team, things would get a little pear-shaped later in the first half. Joel Ballenboy, talk about what it is to defend that guy.
Well, he's probably a draft pick. He's that talented. Rebounding, he's really blossomed his game, but he's difficult because of his athleticism and length.
He was a beast for Weber State on this night. Your team would close the first half, though, on an 11-4 run. Gino Crandall with the step-back jumper for two there. Then just before the first half buzzer, Adam McDermott with the lay-in here. Your team trailed a dozen at the half. You'd get within 6 in the second half, but could get no closer than that.
Well, we got to 6, and we needed to rebound, and they had some timely putbacks. But I will say the end of that half, we held them without a field goal the last 4.5 minutes, and really the start of the second half, we held them without a field goal for a stretch too. So the end of the half, the start of the half was good, and we got in within striking distance. That's where the Weber's different at home. They don't beat themselves a whole lot.
74-62 the final. Ballin' boy, you mentioned the rebounds. He had 26 of them himself. Hooker led the way with 23 points and 8 rebounds, and as you made the transition from Ogden, Utah to Pocatello, Idaho, I imagine you're looking for some support from Hooker because he was your only player in double score.
We knew we had to establish Carson, and we needed somebody else on the perimeter to step up due to Idaho State playing basically 40 minutes of zone. We needed our guards to make open shots, but more importantly, we had to establish the paint, our post guys. So that was our focus, and I thought we did a nice job with that to start the game. We really got Carson going early, which opened up some jump shots for our guys.
Well, let's go. Saturday at Idaho State. Some of those other players stepping up early and often as your team shot lights out in this one. Corey Baldwin, though, the story early on for you.
Oh, he was fantastic. He only had one shot at Weber State, so he came out, again, not feeling sorry for himself. He came out and really competed. Our guys, again, getting him nice shots in rhythm, in range for him, and he just had the confidence to step up and make them.
A 10-2 run to start the game for your club. You start 6 of 7 from the floor. This is midway through the half. Another Baldwin 3. He was 5 for 11 from three-point range, on his way to 22 points on the day as your team led by 9. Carson Shanks getting a little bit of confidence, it looks like, at least from these couple highlights we're going to see from him.
He is. I mean, we need to establish him as he continues to grow and be more demanding of the ball. It's really going to help our team offensively. But again, as you're seeing on all these clips, whether it was Corey or him, they're getting high percentage shots in rhythm. That was a great pass right there by Corey, and a high percentage shot, obviously.
Your team up 11 at the break. In the second half then, as you had to protect your lead in the second half, it was once again Quentin Hooker, the man stepping up to the challenge.
Again, he's our leader, and he's proven why he's doing that game in and game out. Another great pass in rhythm, in range, but hit some timely shots for us.
19 second half points for Hooker as he knocks down a three-pointer here. He too was hot from beyond the arc as your team goes on to win a big road win at Idaho State, 84-76 rather. Your team up to 2-2 now in the Big Sky. Hooker with 24 points, Baldwin with 22, and Shanks with 16. Your team shot 60% from the floor, Coach. That had to feel pretty darn good.
It did. I think what we talked about going into the game, shoot with confidence, pass the ball, make the extra one, pass up a good shot for a great shot. And for the most part, I thought we did a great job, and that's why those percentages were what they were.
Rebounding also a key for you in this one. You held a 38-27 advantage there. How is that game, that part of your guys' game developed?
Well, I think that's what we've learned since last season. We've spent a lot more time on it. We still are undersized, but it's still, to me, it's about a mindset, getting our guys to understand they have to pursue every ball with 2 hands. When it's gotten us in trouble, Weber State, it got us in trouble, and we get beat. So they understand the recipe for success for us. We got to rebound the basketball. It's that simple.
You accepted the challenge at Weber State last week. You get a road win in the Big Sky, which is always difficult to do at Idaho State. Now you come home for a pair against Montana State and Montana. And the group has to be feeling good. What are you going to ask your guys to polish up for this weekend?
Well, just got to continue to believe it's not going to come easy. I mean, it doesn't get any easier for us. Our first 3 weekends is against the best teams in our league. Montana State's vastly improved, can really score like Eastern Washington. So we have to guard. We got to value the basketball, but we got to just continue to play with confidence and discipline. If we can do that, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win.
All right. Thanks so much for your time today, Coach. And a reminder, you can tune in to Midco Sports Network for Saturday afternoon's game at 2 o'clock against Montana right here. We hope to see you then. We're back with more right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. Hockey is always on the minds of Monique and Jocelyne Lamoureux. The 2 former UND standouts are as busy as ever these days, balancing their playing careers, their hockey lives, and business opportunities. Here's Marty Mueller with their story.
There's no place quite like home.
Being home, I think, there's more benefits for our individual skill sets, and we can really work on that. And so it's been good being home and being able to work on our professional careers as well as continuing our athletic career, and we can do both right now. So it's been good. It's just make sure we get enough sleep at night when you're working all day.
Yes, even Olympic athletes feel the strain of a long day's work.
It's a long day, but when you love it, it doesn't seem that bad. And there are some longer days, but I truly love doing this and enjoy being in the gym and helping others get better, and so it's not too bad. It sounds pretty busy, but it's not too bad.
That gym, one Monique, Jocelyne, and others started from scratch, being the reason to stay in their native Grand Forks, a community that's pulled them back once before, when the sisters chose to transfer to UND from Minnesota in their college years. Like that decision, the choice to stay home was about more than just hockey.
My goal was to start something in Grand Forks that I didn't have growing up, and to have a facility with coaches who have a great educational background but great experience with internships and athletic experience has just been great.
Despite starting their own gym, these ladies still find time to be world-class athletes themselves.
It's definitely a balancing act. I think a lot of people in the area don't really realize the amount of time we still put into our training. I don't know if some people think that we just kind of show up to tournaments whenever the dates roll around, but we're still training 4 to 6 times a week. We're on the ice 4 to 5 times a week.
Monique and I have created a scenario in Grand Forks that really works well for us as far as training. We get to skate at the Ralph, going in for weekend games with the Whitecaps and being able to play at a high level. It's what we need to continue to elevate our game, even if it's just a little bit. At our age, you're just looking for the littlest improvements that you can make. And so, for us it's great, but I think for the bigger picture for women's hockey, that program is just going to keep growing and it's going to keep getting better.
The bigger picture always in mind. To help a community that's given them so much, they agree it's the least they can do.
To be able to give back to a program that didn't even exist when we were growing up is, I think, what we hope to do, make a bigger impact beyond just our hockey careers and what we do on the ice. And I think to be given the opportunity to do that is pretty special and something that we're very, very grateful for.
The Lamoureux sisters recently opened their state-of-the-art facility where they train people of all ages, and they couldn't be happier to be doing it in their hometown. Well, straight ahead on UND Sports Extra, the Lamoureux also got an opportunity to play against their former team. We've got that next.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
As you saw in our last segment, as the Lamoureux sisters continue to grow back into Grand Forks, the two of them got a unique opportunity to play back at the Ralph this past weekend, that is, against North Dakota, as UND and the Minnesota Whitecaps took in a pair of exhibition games on Saturday and Sunday. Starting on Saturday, some familiar faces in the opposing uniforms. Josephine Jakobsen with the early goal here for the Minnesota Whitecaps as they take a 1-0 lead. UND would answer back, though, after that. Megan Dufo with the nice shot from the circle here, firing home the wrister to tie things up at a goal apiece. But it was all Whitecaps after that on the breakaway here. This shot beats Lexi Shaw as the Minnesota Whitecaps go on to win the opener by a final of 6-1. Lexi Shaw did have 26 saves in the losing effort. On Sunday afternoon, same two teams back at it, and in a closer one this time, UND looking to rebound. Shelby Amsley-Benzie back in net. Had a strong game, making the save there. Amsley-Benzie would keep the game scoreless later. She had 16 saves in this one as the game would go into the third. All zeros on the scoreboard when Allie Thunstrom fires one off the post, bouncing off of Amsley-Benzie and going in. Jocelyne Lamoureux with the assist. The only point for the Lamoureux sisters on the weekend as the Whitecaps go on to win 1-0. UND is back into WCHA action next weekend as they take on Minnesota Duluth. Up next on the program, two of UND's finest on the gridiron are recognized for their work in the classroom. Don't go anywhere. UND Sports Extra returns right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. A pair of UND football players that have been recognized for their play on the field as Big Sky All-Conference members are now being recognized for their work in the classroom. Brian Labatt and Will Rattel have each been named as two of just 52 football student athletes from across the country to the FCS Athletics Directors Association Academic All-Star Team. Labatt owns a 3.85 cumulative GPA in biology, while Rattel holds down a 3.25 GPA in kinesiology. Labatt and Rattel are the first UND players to be named to the FCS ADA All-Star Team since Ty Boyle received the honor back in 2010. We've got more live UND action on Midco Sports Network this weekend. Friday and Saturday, we'll have a top 10 showdown within the NCHC as UND plays host to rival Omaha in a key series for the conference race. And on Saturday afternoon, we've got men's basketball action as North Dakota takes on Montana. Tip-off for that one is slated for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to UND Sports Extra. We're back next week with all the latest news and highlights from the world of North Dakota athletics. See you next time.